PTSD in the Black community is major.
Hey,
and our kids.
Please speak on that.
Go ahead, brother. Share about that PTSD.
Not just from a mental health aspect. And you have to think about this even in the school setting. So you're having, especially in traditional settings, where if anyone is outside of that, they're penalized. So it's like, okay, so, I'll just say little Joey. This is no one in particular. Little Joey, comes to school and, he may have just been mad that he didn't get his way that morning. Depending on the teacher, depending on how they can identify with him, they may say, oh, well, he's just having a bad day. Let him go to this side of the room and just let him have his day. Where little Johnny, once again, this is no one in particular, may have, witnessed a parent being locked up the night before, or may have seen a murder, may have seen a shooting, and they come to school, they don't know how to deal with that. And who can they speak to? So they come out and then someone speaks to them in a certain way without respect and they react. That one decision could almost get them expelled, possibly expelled, suspended, or definitely taken out of the class. And it's not the same treatment. So when you talk about PTSD, I mean, of course, military veterans and even, adults and everything else. But when you talk about the kids, that's something that's rarely discussed and rarely considered. I'm sorry for cutting you off. That's something I'm passionate about, man.
This is why I'm here. And I'm going to say this. When it comes to PTSD, our community has been experiencing PTSD for decades.
Facts.
Matter of fact, when our fathers came back from Vietnam full of PTSD, they were not medicated and given the proper resources to right the ship after coming back from a lot of these wars. Right. Because people got to remember, this stuff goes all the way back to World War I, II, Vietnam, even the Iraq War. Because a lot of those soldiers have grandkids today. And that PTSD, I feel in the Black community is not assessed. Depression, all of this stuff goes in. It's not looked at like it should have been. And now it's only being looked at because it's impacting the bottom line of others.
Right.
Young Black males in neighborhoods that are impoverished, young minorities, even Caucasian students that go through poverty, they go through abuse at home. I'm telling you now, this stuff should have been talked about even when I was in school in the 80s and 90s. But you didn't hear it talked about until now, because again, it's starting to impact the bottom line. What is the bottom line? That's money.
Right.
Okay. So, when you look at PTSD and how it's impacting education, a lot of those kids can't function. But what happens is because a lot of school systems were unprepared on how to address the mental health, especially of Black males, they got labeled as EBD, which is emotional behavior disorder, or they got labeled and put in the special ed rooms, of which really hindered their progression going forward. Now, listeners, I want to say this. Special education can be a great thing for those that need it.
Right.
But there are so many, especially African-American males, are mislabeled at a high rate and placed in learning situations that are similar to an institution, a correctional institution.
Hey, I have us in the seat on this.
Go ahead.
You're hitting so many points, man. And, it's definitely, a podcast to have a conversation. And I definitely respect your point of view. And I know the viewers will too. So I don't want to, make this all about me, but I have to enter this in just because I'm not only speaking for myself, but also those that were around me, you know, older than me and younger than me that experienced what I'm about to share. So what you were just talking about, things being misdiagnosed, you know, especially when it comes to Black males, but you know, it's really a lower socioeconomic. They just have us, you know, knowing that, or they have us believing that race separates us, but it's really all about economics. But I will say, man, in my elementary here in, you know, Paducah, Kentucky, man, there's an elementary called McNabb. And I can recall them having a cage. You hear me, man? They had a cage in the cafeteria for those children that misbehaved. And I was in the cage a few times. And there was, you know, several of my classmates that were in and out of the cage. And I was wanting to do I'm still going to do it, but I've already started work on it. But seeing the effects of those of us that had to experience that at a young age. Here we are, first, second, third grade. And just because we're not like going toward what they want us to do, all right, something has to be wrong with you. So like, you know, I'm gonna put myself out there, but you know, my first grade teacher, that was the first person I ever flipped off in my life because, you know, I was telling her, I'm like, look, even at a young age, you know, I was taught by my mother specifically, but my father, you know, definitely did his due. But I was like, hey, look, this is not how I learn. This is the type of stuff I need. I was advocating for myself that young, and she didn't listen to us. So I flipped her off. And it was one of those things in class where all the kids was like, oh, right. Yeah. But ever since then, I was labeled as trouble kid or labeled in that behavioral area.
Yeah.
And that affected my academics. That's why I go so hard these days. And, you know, that's why, you know, I have to, you know, the educational background. But when you say that, man, I got to speak that, man, because it's not only affecting, you know, the current, you know, state of education, but you think about the ones that may be in prison or may be getting out right now, those have been some lasting effects. So I just had to say that.
Nothing ever was handed, all about respect, never about ego. Wish I could have retired a long time ago and disappeared way beyond the trees. But my homies kept influencing me, said they needed to hear my lyrics, like my flow, cause they felt my spirit. Plus the people needed to hear it, a conversation with conscientious lyrics.